In Module 11, we get into the distribution of income, which is, well, there's a lot of emotion about this topic. And what we do in economics, our objective is to cut through the emotion with data and statistical analysis. And I want you to think back to that first little thing at the beginning of the class, economics is rude, crude, and offensive. That's where that really applies right here. Well, this is something that the book gets sort of into. It doesn't go very deep into this. But one area that we hear a lot about is the difference in income between men and women. And this article right here is really interesting. Did Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama discriminate against women? They were both accused of just that. Both Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama paid men more than women on their staffs. The question is, did they discriminate? Well, actually, there are a lot of variables that you've got to consider. And if you've had statistics, you know that there are a lot of, sometimes, well, it depends on what you're analyzing, but there are usually more than one, let's put it that way, explanatory variables. And you can't just have one, gender, okay, when you look at income differences. There are also, you've got to look at the level of education, the experience, the flexibility is a big one. And your major in college, that kind of thing. So you've got all these explanatory variables, and both Clinton and Obama were very quick to point this out, that, hey, there's a lot of explanatory well, I probably didn't use that terminology, but anyway, this lays this out. So I'll be a spoiler and just tell you that yes, they each paid men more on their staffs, but no, it was not discrimination. And this explains why. Now, here, Harvard economist and Nobel Prize winner in economics, Claudia Goldin, explains the gender pay gap. And this is an interview. And when you consider all the explanatory variables, the wage gap pretty much disappears. Okay. Now, the question is, what about that last little bit? There's just a little bit, 3 or 4%, that remains after you adjust for everything else. And in her opinion, and her research, she thinks it's a preference for flexibility, that women tend to prefer more flexibility. And what in any field, whether it's their doctors, lawyers, accountants, engineers, and because they want more flexibility in their arrangements, work arrangements, that costs them a little bit. And so really, to get the whole payment gap completely gone, you'd have to take away that flexibility. And most people want flexibility. And men, if they want flexibility, they make less too. It's just you see it less among men. Well, wage gap myth. Here's again, it talks about all the other variables involved. You've got to look at those variables. Again, most of you are going to take a statistics class at some point. And if you don't, you should. If you don't, most majors require some statistics. There are a lot of variables out there that need to be considered, and when you don't consider the relevant variables, you come up with a bad analysis. Wealth gap, not as big as commonly reported. One reason is when a lot of the research doesn't consider all the transfer payments, and you've got to consider those things, taxes and transfer payments. And of course, it's smaller when you consider those. A powerful but rarely talked about cause of inequality. Listen to that. Basically, it's just personal finance skills. Enormous. That makes an enormous difference, but we don't hear much about that. Well, this talks about that and the importance and how that compounds over time. Like I said, over time, over decades, it can be huge. And the determinative upper mobility, almost everyone's afraid to talk about. Interesting stuff. Okay, that's it. Well, got the usual stuff here. So let's see. Yeah, Economics USA in that module as well. See you in module 12.